All right. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to BC Spark's fourth broadcast on the year. We're excited for you guys to be listening in. And we have a lot of stuff chalked up to talk about that's extremely exciting for the Bridgewater community and just things going around in general within the world and the nation. So, to kick it off tonight, we have our first segment being the interview with Sherry Talbott by Lexi Brown. She's going to be interviewing Sherry about her background, what led her to Bridgewater's career services, as well as some of the goals of the department coming up and things just happening around Bridgewater.
Good evening, BC Voice listeners. Thank you for tuning in. We have a very special guest today. For those of you BC students here, you know her, the queen of resume building, the captain of getting you a job at job fairs and all that, Sherry Talbott. How are you tonight, Sherry?
I'm great. Thanks so much.
Oh, thank you for coming. We really appreciate it. So, for those who don't know, I mean, we know, what you're head of the department here of career services, so most people know you by that. But tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
Well, actually, I'm local. I was born in Richmond, but then shortly thereafter, word moved to Augusta County. Well, actually, Stanton. I started in Stanton and went to elementary school there, and then moved out to the country. So I am a Fort Defiance High School graduate. Woo!
Woo! All right.
Yeah. So I've stayed local because I've traveled a lot in my life, but there's nowhere as pretty as the Shenandoah Valley, in my opinion.
Oh, I couldn't agree more with you on that one. So you went to, was it again Fort
Defiance High School, yeah, right down the road.
Fort Defiance High School, nice. How far away is that?
It's only about 10 or 15 minutes down Route 11, and actually we have a lot of BC students who do internships there. So Fort's been great at working with our student teachers and with folks who are interested in school counseling or in coaching, getting into sports. So they've been terrific in working with us.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah.
Those tuning in, if you're interested in this, you know who to talk to after this segment here. Anyways, so where did you go after high school? What college or university did you attend?
I had an interesting pathway. I actually started out at Blue Ridge Community College.
Mm-hmm.
I did the 2 years there. I got an associate's degree. And then I did something unusual. I took a couple years off because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was paying for my own education. So it was always in me to go to college, but not until I knew what I wanted to do. So I took a little bit of time out and I worked for the Stanton Public Library and public relations, found a real love for that, and then went to JMU and got a communications degree for all you communications students out there. Woo!
Right here. Woo-hoo.
Again, woo! So I had a great experience there. And then I actually went back and got my graduate degree from JMU as well, and that was in human resources development. And so I'm what you call a double duke.
Double Duke.
Yes.
Oh, never heard of that word. That's awesome. What kind of led you to becoming, a major in human resources, starting off, where you were? What interested you, leading down that path?
Well, it was kind of an interesting situation where I still wanted to follow the communications path, but the department at JMU at that point was going through some changes, and you could either go down the route of broadcasting and journalism or organizational management. And my advisor kind of took me down that road, and I found out that I absolutely loved it. So I studied a lot about how organizations communicate, and it was just a great experience. And so that led into my first job, which I think I was one of the few communication majors who went directly into a communication job.
Mm-hmm.
I started working for a company in Harrisonburg that was a telemarketing firm, and I actually taught our the taught the employees how to speak on the phones. And then I got into human resources. And what I tell a lot of students is that you choose your career path, but your career path chooses you too.
Mm-hmm.
And I also tell them that your path is going to really wind. It's going to take some very interesting curves. And where you start out as your first job out of Bridgewater is not going to be where you stay. It's the jumping off point, and the skills that you build just make you get you in better shape for the next job. But while you're in that job, people are going to be looking at you too, at your strengths. And that's what happened to me. Is that I through my jobs I built strengths. I started out as a floor manager, managing 60 people, and then I got into the human resources department, and that was fantastic because I use that experience every single day here at Bridgewater, where I'm getting students to understand that employers look at you through different lenses, and if I can help you understand those lenses, then that'll make it easier for you to understand what it is that employers are looking for, and as I always say, get really excited about you. So continuing down that career path, because I was in human resources, my next leap was into getting on the other side of. Well, actually, I did admissions for a while for a business school, but that's where my director saw that my skills were in another area, and put me on the other end of things where I was going to help students get jobs out in the community. And I love that so much. She saw I was really connected. And then after that, I worked for an agency that helped people that have been dislocated from jobs to get back into the workforce. So I've really always been in a career that's centered around the workforce. And while I was there, one of my coworkers was a Bridgewater grad, and she got a job back at Bridgewater as the career services director. And when she moved on, she called me personally and said, Sherry, I want you taking my place. I want you to be the one to take Bridgewater to the next steps. So there are a lot of things about that, being connected, keeping connected. If I wasn't involved and visible in the community, that experience never would have happened. So it was very exciting to do that, and I was thrilled to get offered the job here at Bridgewater.
Oh, I bet that's really amazing. So, what is it that career services, for those who may not know, I mean, a lot of us students, upperclassmen, we know what career services does, we know your role, but for those who may not know or just don't have a very surface level understanding, what is it that your department does? Like, what is your role?
I love that question. And it's a question, or it's a statement that I actually make to all of the FELA 150 students, that I want to make sure they understand that all students have access to my department at any stage in their career. And I especially love when students start as first years. And what I tell them too is when I think about everything that my office does, it's really designed to do whatever we can do while you're here in school, to get ready for next steps. So it's all about preparing for what's going to happen once you leave these hallowed halls, to help you get into your first career position, to help you get into grad school, to help you get into the military or the Peace Corps or whatever. And some of the ways we do that is, first of all, helping you decide on majors, helping to explore careers, helping you find internships and other exploratory opportunities, evaluate what you're doing with your 4 years, helping you figure out what clubs and organizations you might want to belong to, helping you figure out if you need a double major or a minor, or what might be good classes to supplement what you're doing. And of course, getting you into internships and helping with resumes and getting you prepared for grad school and the job search, or whatever it is that you want to do.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't even realize that your department and you yourself help students with the military even after college. I didn't even think of that. It's not.
Oh, yeah. And in fact, when you said after college, I'm glad you mentioned that, because my department continues to work with students even after they graduate. And sometimes that's when we need the most help. We're out in the world, we're trying to figure it out. And every single student should feel like they should be able to call me, come by, email me, and we'll talk about making sure that resume is in good shape. Because when your resume that you use to get your first job should not be the resume you use the rest of your life. So we work a lot in flipping the resume so that you can go on to that next job or promotion.
Definitely. That's amazing what you guys do. It's really awesome. And Very helpful. I know that was, as coming into Bridgewater as a student, I was very concerned. Am I going to be able to get a job after? I know that's always a big thing I hear. But leading into the final question, what are your hopes for the future in career services? What are you hoping that's going to happen in the future?
Love that question. I hope we grow. Frankly, I want more staff. I want to be able to do more things and branch out and work with students in all sorts of different um, opportunities, different ways. For example, being sure we're here at night, being there during the day, being in classes, going into residence halls, doing whatever we can do to be where students are so that the message gets out. But we're really excited because we are moving to the Learning Center, or the Learning Commons. My office will be in the Learning Commons when you come back to school in January. So we're very excited about that and having the higher visibility, but also being in such an active place. So, and you'll see me a lot, having little conversations with students in the coffee shop. So I'm looking forward to that.
I bet. We're all looking forward to it too. Well, thank you so much for coming out tonight and being here on BC Voice. We really appreciate it. I'm sure you'll be seeing me soon. I have questions. But that is it for tonight. I hope you enjoy Halloween. And for the rest of you listeners out there, have a good night. And until next time.
All right. Thank you, Lexi, for that great interview with Sherry, keeping us informed on, how to make sure our resumes and everything else are up to date, as well as the expanding department of the career services with Bridgewater College. Up next, we got another great interview by Shaina Breeden with Alex Wilmer, where we're going to be interviewing him, talking about things that are going around Bridgewater as a town. The assistant town manager is who Alex Wilmer actually is. And so we're going to go ahead and give it away.
Hello, everyone. All right, I'm Shaina, and I'm here with Alex, the Assistant Town Manager of Bridgewater, and we're here to talk about a building you may have seen pop up in town. The Sipe Center is located on the corner of East College Street and North Main Street. So, Alex, what is the Sipe Center? What kind of things can you do there?
Well, thank you for having me tonight.
Yeah,
The Sipe Center will serve many purposes for the town. For one, we're going to move our town council meetings there, so we'll have them the second Tuesday of every month. But we'll also be having concerts there pretty regularly, and we also will begin showing films. So our first concert will be this Friday with a group called The Hunts, and starting on Saturday, we will have our first film, which will be Avengers Endgame, and that will be shown on Saturday and Sunday. So in the coming months, we have a lot of different concerts and plays scheduled at Sipe Center, and then every weekend we hope to have a different film.
All right. So, you mentioned films. So, are you going to be showing second run movies? What kind of movies?
Right, they're essentially second run or what's called sub run films. So these are films that are fairly new but have been in the theaters for a few months. So looking at our schedule here in November, as I mentioned, we have Avengers Endgame, but we also have Toy Story 4. We have Spider-Man Far From Home, and then the new animated Lion King film. And, we've got a lot of family-friendly films, but we also hope to have some other films that have been out here recently. And, for example, the Downton Abbey film that came out here not long ago, that's one we're looking to get here early December, possibly. So I think we'll have a good variety of films that hopefully will attract a broad audience here in town.
All right. So, you mentioned concerts. So, if I want to buy a ticket to a live event, where can I do that?
You can do it a couple of ways. I would recommend everyone go to sipecenter.com, and from there you can see the complete schedule of concerts. We have concerts scheduled through December of 2020, so our staff has taken the time to schedule a really good variety of acts. So I'd encourage everyone to go to sipecenter.com, and you can order directly through the website. You could also stop by the town offices at 201 Green Street, or you can call our number, which is 908-4212. But I think for most people, the easiest way to get tickets is just go to our website.
Yeah, all right. So, for mini golf and the ice rink, Bridgewater College students get in for free with their IDs. Is that going to be the same at the Sipe Center or no?
That's correct. That's going to be true for certain films. We would love to have every film free for town residents and college students, but the movie studios are very particular on how we sell tickets. So what we're planning to do is to offer one of the showings each weekend for free. So for college students at Bridgewater, you would just show your Bridgewater College ID, and that would get you free admission. So um, I would encourage anyone who's interested in coming to a movie to go to our website, again, sipecenter.com, and we will post the showings that will be free. So, for example, for the Avengers Endgame, if you come out on Saturday at 6 p.m., that's one of our free shows. The following week, Toy Story 4, that's Friday at 6:30. That show would be free. So, we're hoping that this will work out, that we can have that, and hopefully that'll be a very popular thing with students and residents.
Yeah, definitely. So, is there just one room for showing movies in the theater?
Right. We have one screen, one theater. It will seat 149 people. We have 5 handicap accessible seats, so our total seating is 154. And it's based on our budget. That was sort of the maximum space we could really do.
Yeah.
But I think if you go in there, I think people so far have been very impressed with how we've laid it out, the quality of the seats. So I think it'll be a really good experience for those who come out.
All right. So, online it mentions flex passes. Could you just talk about those for a second? And, like, are they a one-time thing?
Sure. We started offering a flex pass in August, and basically for $125 you get your choice of 5 different shows. And they are still available. You can certainly still purchase them. So if there were a number of concerts you were looking at, that is one way to save a few bucks by purchasing a flex pass. And I think we'll do that again with our next season as well.
Okay, all right. And then as far as things you can do at the Sipe Center online, it also mentioned you can rent it out.
Sure. This is something that we're excited to offer, but if you go to our website, you can read more about it. But you could potentially rent the theater for an evening if you had a private event. So I don't know if we've had anyone book it yet, but I'm guessing it'll be a popular space. We've got a very large lobby area that you could get a large number of people in, and then also have the theater to show a private film or screening or something. So I think that could be a very cool venue for an event.
Definitely, definitely. So, I know with mini golf and the ice rink, they have like set seasons. Is the Sipe Center going to be open year round or no?
Yeah, we plan to be open year round, and as you can see from our calendar, we've got different concerts in place every month from now through the end of 2020. So we hope to get a lot of use out of the theater and have a lot of different events going there.
Awesome, awesome. And what days of the week is the theater going to be open?
I think most of our films are probably going to be shown Thursday nights, Friday nights, Saturday nights, and probably late afternoons on Sundays, maybe a late night Sunday movie. If we have a concert schedule, we probably won't show any films that day.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, we're looking at that sort of 4-day schedule, and that could expand in the future depending on how things go.
Oh, cool. And so, are you going to have more than one showing of movies in a day?
Yeah, there are some days that we have a film scheduled to show 2 or 3 times. So there's a potential of the same film running 5 or 6 times over a 4-day period.
Okay, okay. And then finally, so what made the town decide to build a theater?
Well, this goes back a couple of years. There was a very old building on that corner that was in bad shape. We felt it was a safety hazard for that building to stay up, so we purchased that building and ultimately tore it down. And we debated what would be a good use of that property, and we decided to do a theater. We thought that would be good for the community, good for the downtown area, and so we worked out a deal in basically the summer of 2018 to build it, and we broke ground in January and pretty much finished construction in September. So we're really excited about the opportunity to offer this to our residents, to Bridgewater College, to the community. And based on the ticket sales so far, I think it's going to be a big hit. So again, encourage everyone to go to sipecenter.com to read more about the theater, and hopefully we'll see many of you out there here this season.
All right. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we look forward to coming this weekend.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Shaina, and thank you, Alex, for coming out and talking to us. Make sure you guys get that popcorn ready. That movie theater opens this Friday with The Hunt. And up next, we got Ayinde Roberts and Jalissa White-Jones discussing what some of the most popular costumes you're going to be seeing tomorrow. Because if you don't know, spooky season is coming to an end, and Halloween is less than 12 hours away. So they'll be talking about the best things to watch, as well as some of the best places to go to get the fullest out of spooky season. So without further ado, let's get it.
Hello, Bridgewater. My name is Ayinde.
And I'm Jalissa White-Jones.
And the spookiest day of the year is right around the corner. And no, we're not talking about when taxes are due. We're talking about Halloween. It's always a really exciting year. And so we're here. We're going to talk about some stuff that's going to be going on throughout the town, and talk about some of the popular costumes and stuff. So why don't you hit us with some facts?
Alrighty, well, it should be no surprise that the most researched costume this year would be Pennywise, the scary clown from the It movies. And then following that would be the Joker, which I'm pretty sure you're going to be tomorrow.
I don't want to know. What? No,
Oh.
I'm not going to be the Joker. What are you talking about? Well, yeah, but clowns are going to be all the rage this year. Not just with males and Pennywise and the Joker, but also we're going to see another influx with Harley Quinns because the Joker is re-entering popularity even more so than he was when Suicide Squad came out, which we saw another rise of Joker costumes. So.
That's also true. And then once we move from the clowns, we do get into the Avengers, because who doesn't want to be a superhero?
I mean, listen, when you're the highest grossing movie of all time, you'll have people wanting to be those heroes. I was doing the trick or treating event the thing was last night. It was last night. And I was seeing a bunch of Avengers, and it was like, oh, they're so tiny, but it's like they're like acting like they're the heroes, and it's just like, oh, that's so cute.
I remember that stage or age in life. So which Avenger did you see the most? Iron Man?
Actually, no.
What?
I saw Black Panther a lot.
What?
I was surprised. I was like, oh, okay. No, I kind of get it, but also at the same time, I was like, no, Iron Man, no, okay.
I'm a little wounded. What about Spider-Man?
Oh yeah, I saw a ton of Spideys, and they're like we had the Iron Spider, Spider-Man the suit from Spider-Man Far From Home. Yeah, there were a lot of Spider-Man.
A lot of Spider-Mans, okay. And then for a little kids out there, of course, you're gonna see a lot of them dressed as villains from the movies Descendant on Disney Channel. So I'm pretty sure there was a few of those out there. Did you see any of that?
I wouldn't be able to tell you because I haven't seen that. So if they were, I couldn't tell. Oh, I saw a lot of Captain Marvels too.
Okay,
which
I
understand. I kind of understand. I understand with how what Captain Marvel is in regards to the MCU is the first female-led MCU hero. I get it, but it's interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw a few Frozen's, little Elsas.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so cute,
And so there's also going to be some stuff going on for Halloween. So I'm pretty sure you have some stuff.
I do. So the first thing will be the Fear Forest Haunted Attraction, which is in Harrisonburg. So obviously you're walking in the woods, and I'm pretty sure people are coming out and scaring you. Not really my forte. I'm not sure I want someone coming after me in the forest. I don't know how you feel about that. I'd rather just go see a movie and have a jump scare come at me.
I don't know. It's just it's more visceral when it's happened, when it's not like you watching somebody else getting scared. It's a different kind of fear when it's you who's getting scared.
I mean, I'll feel bad because then I'll feel like I'll accidentally hit them by accident. I know this is
you just gotta practice self.
I know you can't do that. This is their job, but I'm just okay. And around Bridgewater at Sandy Bottom Park, the mini golf course will be having candy, some treats, family fun, pizza, and if you dress up in a costume, you get to golf for free. So that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. I honestly, if free golfing, just as long as you're in costume, even if it's not the most elaborate thing, I would try to because it's Halloween. You should want to, but I mean, hey, who can say no to free golfing?
Mini golfing? Yeah, you're right. I can't. And then lastly, we have Haunted Harrisonburg Ghost Tours. And apparently this year they have added more attractions. So I didn't realize there were any haunted tours around Harrisonburg. But
This is also new to me. I kind of want to go to one now.
I do too, but at the same time, just that's okay. I'm good.
Well, it's the spookiest day of the year. You should want to get spooked.
I could get spooked in my dorm watching a scary movie. I'm good with that.
Fair, but I guess.
All right, favorite horror movie.
Oh man, that's hard. That's really tough. And so like I want to go with the originator, the precursor to the slasher genre, the original Halloween. It's a classic. You always, if it's Halloween and you're not watching Halloween, something's wrong. Something got lost in translation. You should watch Halloween on Halloween. It is the Halloween horror movie.
You should watch Halloween on Halloween.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
the quintessential Halloween movie.
Couldn't have said it better. All right. Well, I guess for me, like to ease my way into like the horror fest, I guess I would start with Carrie.
Yeah.
That's pretty out there,
Well, I mean, it's a classic.
obviously. Yeah.
But also, like, you have the remake that came out a couple years back. Wow, it's 2013. That's like, it feels it's 6
Stop making
years
me
away,
feel
but,
old.
like, but oh no, the original Carrie is a classic. It's one of my favorite Stephen King movies.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it doesn't really hold up too well. It's not like, well, none of the Stephen King movies really hold up really well except for like The Shining.
Okay. That's one way. What about your like? What do you feel about the It movies?
The first one, like the TV movie with Tim Curry as Pennywise is hilarious.
Mhm.
It's not scary at all.
Well, no.
It's fantastic. But the remake, It Chapter 1 was really, really good. Like there was a lot of moments where I was like, oh, that's for in terms of horror, like there's really good settings. You get shots and stuff like that. The second one is not as good. It's decent. It's not as good as the first.
What? Okay. All right.
Listen. I could easily walk out of the theater, go back to my room, turn the lights up, and go to sleep with no problems. And if I do that after watching a horror movie, I wasn't scared enough.
I'm the complete opposite. I thought the first It movie, not gonna lie, was kind of funny because he did that lovely little dance that I'm just like, man, that had me dying. And as for the second one, there was too many jump scares. That's what gets me. It's like those doggone jump scares, like right there.
Yeah, I like the subtle, like the sort of subtle kind of scares, like things where you're like, it's not necessarily completely sure if there's something in the background. You're just like, oh, look like something moved. I'm not.
So
I'm
like
not
what's
okay.
leading up to it, basically.
Right. So I know people really don't like the Paranormal Activity movies
No.
because they are very slow. A lot of nothing happens. But that first one, like I remember watching it with my dad, and I was scared out of my mind.
Really?
Because it preys on it preys on it's the bedroom. Like that's where you're supposed to be safe. Like when you lock the doors, you're in your covers. You're like, I'm safe. Nothing's gonna get me. And then you see that's not the case. And it's shot in a way where you cannot separate reality from fiction.
Wow.
So like I understand why people don't like it, but I love those kind of movies because it's not there's no really anything jumping out of the screen. It's like the subtle things, just the subtle pulling the covers off. It's the subtle like knocks on the door and you open it and there's nothing there. And then you hear it like right down the hall again. You're just like, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. Let's not do that.
So basically, you like the scary movies that like mess with you mentally.
Yeah, that's exactly correct.
Oh. All right, but I'll never forget. Like the first time I saw the It movie, I drove home by myself, paranoid the whole entire way, and it was just like saw shadows, scary, crazy. It was really, really, really intense. Even though I was like laughing the whole entire time in the theater, but it's different when there's people.
Right, but I mean, everybody's gonna have their own little thing.
Yeah.
So that was it. That's it for us talking about Halloween. Thank you guys for listening to us. And my name is Ayinde.
And I'm Jalissa White-Jones.
We'll see you later.
Bye.
Shout out to Ayinde and Jalissa getting us informed on what we can see these cute little kids running around with tomorrow as they go out trick-or-treating. Up next, we got Dean Barker and Holden Andrews here to talk to us about all the politics around the world, mostly pertaining to us, such as President Trump being booed at the World Series, the update on the impeachment process, as well as an early look at election polls. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Good evening, Bridgewater. I'm Holden Andrews here with Dean Barker. Dean, let's get right into it. You're wearing the Nats gear. We can start with what was it, Game 5 of the
Yeah, it
World
was Game
Series?
5. I was actually watching. I didn't see this part of the game, but it was Game 5 on Sunday night.
Mhm.
So Donald Trump was at the game.
Right.
They were doing, as a Nationals fan, as I know they usually do. I think in the third or fourth inning, they have like everybody stand up and wave their caps to like say thank you to the U.S. military veterans in attendance. Well, they put Trump on the big screen, and the whole stadium just started booing.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. Trump didn't have a hat that he was waving,
Right.
and I've actually been on the jumbotron there. You have to be
you?
waving a hat.
Uh-huh.
So, but yeah, they put him on. They didn't even say like this is President Trump. They just put him there, and then they just started booing. So, I'd be interested to know what was going on with the national scoreboard operators, the cameramen. I think it could have been just something to get like PR going.
Right.
But yeah, I thought it was interesting they booed him the day after the raid that he initiated killed the ISIS leader.
Yeah.
Because I mean, people have some legitimate gripes with Trump, but there was a time to be angry, and I don't think this was it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's very disrespectful towards someone in that position, whether or not you're a Democrat or Republican. I think that the presidency, the Oval Office, it says something. You know, it's a symbol of America, and whether you hate him or you hate the idea of him, at the end of the day, he's still a person. And we've talked a lot about that in one of the classes Dean and I have together. That like humanity still matters. And I think that if you had to go that far, if you had to publicly boo him, I think silence would have been a better response.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if I were the Nationals, I would have just avoided this altogether because they're in the World Series, the first ever, and you want it to be a unifying time for Americans, or at least people in Washington finally have something to cheer about with baseball. And instead of that, they take Trump, and now everybody's upset. And I honestly don't understand it. I think the best thing would have been just to leave it alone.
Yeah.
But as far as booing him, I don't know.
I really don't think he cares, one way or another.
Well, yeah, I mean, at this point, people who like Trump are going to keep supporting him. People who don't, nothing that he does is going to make a difference. Yeah. So everything's just leading up to the election.
Yeah, and you touched on this a little bit, but let's go a little bit deeper into it. The ISIS leader that was killed in a raid.
So Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi was the leader of ISIS. I think he was 48. And then there was the U.S. Trump initiated a raid. I think he had help from some Turkish military as well, but it was led mainly by the U.S. and the leader ended up self-detonating a suicide vest and killed himself. So that was a big win for the U.S. military and for people who are afraid of ISIS. There were also 3 children killed. They don't know who, but it was probably his children.
Right.
And ever since Trump, there was also a dog who was involved.
I saw that, yeah.
And ever since Trump released a picture of this dog's basically been a celebrity online. Everybody's saying the best boy. Now the dog was injured when the bomb exploded, but he's expected to make a full recovery. I saw CNN was questioning because Trump had said that the guy was whimpering and like a coward. CNN was making like they don't know if that was true or not. I don't think that's a big deal.
Yeah,
I think the big deal is that whether you like Trump or not, he did a huge thing to help make the world a safer place. The big issue was that Washington Post, when they initially released the article, they instead of describing him as like the leader of ISIS, the heading of the article was a religious scholar.
Oh,
and I know a lot of people, including myself, were horrified by that the leader of a terrorist organization is being portrayed as this astute person.
Scholar, yeah.
Because, I mean, unfortunately, there's a history of of terrorism that people associate with Islam. Yeah. But to outright say somebody who was a terrorist was like a good person and a good representative of Islam kind of makes me cringe.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. But I think we ended up reading the exact same articles. But I think I saw that there were quite a few explosive vests, and I think some tunnels collapsed as well as they were going through with the raid. But I did see, I think even President Trump tweeted about the dog, and that's just so cute.
Everybody loves dogs, and that just made this situation a million times better.
Yeah.
So as we talked about earlier, despite this, people aren't so happy with Trump because we have the impeachment process. The latest we know today is that John Bolton has said that he is not going to testify unless he is forced to, and even then he would prefer not to do it. So that could either help him or it could be, it could help Trump, or we'll see. But the White House press secretary is criticizing the Ukrainian expert and saying, she's saying that Trump did nothing wrong. Let me pull it up. What's her name? Stephanie Grisham. She had said, where we can confirm is he never suggested filing in any words at any point where ellipses appeared in the transcript. Yeah, so it's looking like, according to this, she has said there's nothing to be concerned about, but it is very sketchy that Bolton's not going to speak on it, and somebody resigned, actually. Oh yeah, Tim Morrison, the top White House official on Trump's national security for Europe, is resigning, so he will not be available for comment on this.
Right.
So that is interesting. Well, actually, the article says that he was planning to resign for a while, so it might be somewhat related to the whole situation. But he might have just wanted to retire.
Yeah, and I talked about impeachment on the last Politicast, and I remember speaking a lot about how the fact that Nancy Pelosi hadn't decided on whether or not holding a vote yet, while it's not like required by law in the Constitution, how I still felt that it was necessary, and it actually came out that she's holding a vote. I believe it's tomorrow, and that's just to start the impeachment process. And how do you think that'll go? Do you think it'll pass?
I honestly don't know. I think it'll be close.
Yeah.
But what I do know is that what people don't know about the impeachment process is that even if he is impeached and removed from office, he is still allowed to participate in the next election.
Right.
So So this could all be for naught.
Yeah.
They could get him out of office because if he gets impeached, some Republicans might see him. Okay, this is the guy we don't want. Others might see, okay, this guy's basically a martyr for what we believe in. So it could either hurt him for the next election or it could
really
make it
help
stronger.
him. Yeah.
But impeaching him is not going to solve the Democrat issues, the issues they have with Trump. So I would forget about it, honestly.
Yeah, I did a little research into the new Democratic polls that came out today. So this is from a USA Today poll that the top three are currently Biden, Warren, and Sanders with 26.17 and then 13. And then Mayor Pete Buttigieg, he's climbing a little bit, He's up to 10 points now. He's 3 within Sanders, and I was doing some reading that he's shifted more from a I guess we'll say leftist belief to a more central one. I read that him and Elizabeth Warren kind of have the same voting pool, I guess you could say, and then I think he's like actively trying to get out of that and get more diverse votes, and I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think looking at it, that's good. I think a lot of Americans are tired of the political fight between the left and the right.
Yeah,
they want somebody who they can have a conversation and not fight with.
Yeah, I agree.
But I honestly so hats off to him, but I honestly don't see it happen because Biden and Warren are so far ahead.
Yeah.
And even though Sanders is sort of in the race,
he'll be out soon.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So I think that's all we have for today. So, yeah, the election, what's it? We have elections next week on Tuesday, so everybody make sure you get out and vote in your local elections and try to impact the future in your region.
Yeah.
All right.
Have a good night, Bridgewater.
All right. That's Dean Barker and Holden Andrews signing off.
All right. Thank you, Dean and Holden, for keeping us up to date about the politics going on around the world right now. Up next, we got Ayinde Roberts, Ian Rhodes, and our man's Justin Rogers here to discuss Cinema Talk, talking about the new Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker trailer, both the good, the bad, and everything in between. So let's get them to take it away.
Hello, Bridgewater. It's almost like I've been here before. Well, yes, my name is Ayinde Roberts again,
I'm Ian Rhodes.
And I'm Justin Rogers.
and we're here to do a new little segment, quote unquote, called Cinema Talk. Where we're going to talk about movies, movie things, and a lot. And so we got a big one today because we got to talk about the next Star Wars. It's a very Star Wars heavy segment today. We're going to be talking about the Rise of Skywalker. We got some news about the trilogy, the trilogy that was made by D&D, who are the guys that did Game of Thrones, and we have some more Mandalorian stuff to talk about. So let's just get into it. Let's talk about the big story that just came out. D&D, D.B. Dubois or something like that.
D.B. Weiss.
D.B. Weiss and David Benioff.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the correction.
Oh, getting it done.
The showrunners of Game of Thrones just had their Star Wars trilogy canceled.
Good.
Yeah, many people have been very, very vocal about how much they do dislike D&D because of how the last season of Game of Thrones, and so they were helmed. One of the reasons that people have assumed was that because they were doing Star Wars that they weren't really trying on Game of Thrones, and now that they're off their Star Wars trilogy, what happens now?
I feel like that whole idea of that trilogy is now canned. Whatever it was going to be is now no longer happening. And Bryan Johnson's trilogy is still happening. Even after Last Jedi. It's still happening.
Okay.
And,
a chance to redeem himself.
I guess.
But
We'll get to that when we get to it. But yeah,
Exactly.
this was very interesting, and report just came out that the reason that they didn't want to do it. This is not truth. This is just on the dirt sheets that they did not want to go through the same type of toxic fandom that they went through when they did Game of Thrones.
And, yeah, there might have been some toxic fandom with Game of Thrones, but I feel like the Star Wars fandom was even worse.
Oh no, it's not even a thing. They are really
It's
bad.
pretty bad.
They're really
Well,
bad.
Star Wars fandom has been around longer, and it's bigger.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot more people. And the thing
Exactly.
is, with the Star Wars fandom, it's not just movies.
No.
It's everything.
Everything. Video games, the old EU, and now with the new trilogy, the original trilogy and prequel trilogy.
Yeah, you got the movies, you got the animated shows.
And then you got the Disney Plus
Yeah.
shows coming out.
Speaking of which,
Mandalorian.
Oh, dude, I'm so
That
excited.
looks actually good. That looks good.
The
I am excited for
Mandalorian
that.
just came out with their final trailer just I think last night.
Yeah.
Or and it looks good.
It looks
Yeah.
pretty dark and looks like a Western show, and
Yeah.
pretty excited for that one.
Yeah, it's like you were just saying, it's a Star Wars Western.
Yeah.
With Pedro Pascal, who he's starting to get a lot of attention after his breakout role in another show,
Game of
the
Thrones is Oberyn Martell or the
Yep.
Viper.
Yep, and he comes like you get one line. We get one line out of him from the man in the trailer, and he just still it feels like something different that we need. And
Oh,
Yeah.
it's a more fresh take. Like it feels fresh compared to the new trilogy, which I don't really think is that good.
Well, I mean,
As a
we're
whole.
talking about the cancellation of the last trilogy. I think Disney just has to go all in with these Disney Plus shows for Star Wars. At least if it's anything like The Mandalorian looked right now, I'm excited for everything they're coming out with. I heard they're coming out with Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan with Ewan McGregor,
With
which
Ewan-
I'm seeing no matter what. I don't
Oh
care.
my God.
Ewan
It's-
McGregor's back in it.
I'm
Like,
so ready.
if there's one person that made Obi-Wan Kenobi a household name that's not named Alec Guinness, rest in peace, it is Ewan McGregor.
Oh, it is.
Exactly.
Oh, it is. So how about let's talk about this new trailer that came out.
The biggest thing is
yeah.
the Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker trailer came out during halftime of Monday Night Football during a really, really bad Patriots-Jets game, but it didn't make the wait wasn't worth it. Let's be honest.
Not really. You hear the Emperor, and you get a little glimpse of him at the end of the trailer, and I think having the Emperor in it is completely terrible.
Yeah. Well, me and Ayinde were talking about this last night. How are you going to explain how he came back? Like, I can't think of anything.
The issue with this movie and why The Last Jedi really, really, really derailed this trilogy is the fact that there was a lot. You could tell that J.J. Abrams really wanted to tell a really good story. He wanted to do something with Snoke. He wanted to do something with Rey's parents. But The Last Jedi came out and it's like, okay, they don't need to know that. Now J.J. Abrams has to pick up the pieces and still get those fans that did not like The Last Jedi back into their seats. So what better way to do that than to bring in the Emperor?
This is why you don't have different directors
Exactly.
for a trilogy.
Or like you can have a different director, but because the original trilogy had that, but they had
you have to have the same story.
Like the George Lucas was overall all of them, and J.J. Abrams just did Force Awakens, and he didn't give Rian Johnson any idea who the Knights of Ren were or Snoke was. It was like, oh, here you go, and that's what the problem is with this new trilogy is that there's no overboard person that's laying out the story. That's
or at least there has to be some sort of collaboration between the two, and like you said, like it just seemed like the same, like they were connected but they weren't at all. And that's why, like, I've been hearing from a lot of people, first half an hour 45 minutes of this movie is going to be dedicated to fixing the mistakes from episode 8.
Because you remember, like, in the original trilogy, you like, no matter who directed this movie, always had Loris Kasdan on it, always. So there was everything that him and Lucas wanted to do for that trilogy, it was going to follow that same story regardless of who was directing. We don't have that here. Even with the prequels, I know a lot of us Star Wars fans rag on the prequels a lot because rightfully so. A lot of them are bad, but they still follow the same story even though whether or not they have a different director or not. This is not the same case. And how is it that we are in Star Wars Force Awakens came out in 2015. Here we are in 2019. How is it that the prequels, the movie that people deride the most, are more coherent than this trilogy when you've had time to learn from the mistakes of the prequels?
When I watched the Rise of Skywalker trailer, I laughed at the part when you saw like all the Resistance fighters. There's like 1,000 of them. At the end of The Last Jedi, there's like 10 people left. And because they all fit on the Millennium Falcon. And there's about like 15 First Order guys left. What in the time span, like even like year, like couple year jump, you're having that many people already? What?
Also, there's a couple of things to this movie. One, they have so many characters that aren't defined as characters. Like, there are one character in 7 and another character in 8. Finn is one of them. I have no idea what to think about him. I think they're doing way too much with him and Rose. I think they need to at least do something with him and Rey. Just to, like, either finish it or, like, they are a thing, they're not a thing. And you can't just end that by bringing in another girl.
Exactly. Like, with the whole thing with Finn... They didn't do anything with him. Like, he was a coward in Force Awakens, and then he's a coward again in Last Jedi, and they would have redeemed him by him sacrificing himself, but he didn't.
Yes.
We have been talking about that scene since we saw that in The Last Jedi. Finn's arc should have ended where his arc ended in episode 9, not in episode 8.
Yes.
If you want to, because you could tell that he is like, you know how in football you have your franchise tags.
Yep.
This Rey, Finn, Poe feel like they're franchise tagged to this trilogy.
Exactly. And honestly, the only really interesting character from this new trilogy might be Kylo Ren. Really, because like he's the one with the most character development.
And another thing about this trailer, though, is the fact that I think they had a really big reveal of the fact that Rey and Kylo Ren are working together again. Why would you show that in a trailer?
Exactly.
Yeah,
that doesn't make any sense to me.
Exactly. That's a big spoiler.
Especially when you intersperse them fighting fighting one another. You already know how that's going to end.
Exactly.
So there's no tension.
Is this basically going to be episode 8 all over again? Where, like, somehow Kylo Ren's going to be near Palpatine and, like, going to fall for him and whatever. And then he's going to realize, wait, he's an evil guy. I want to be good. And then I'm going to team up with Rey again.
Sounds like episode 6, so they're just doing episode 6 again.
Wait.
Return of the Jedi.
Look, you could have done that with The Force Awakens. I'm fine with that. I will accept that. The Last Jedi tried to do something different. No. Rise of Skywalker is also trying to just... Now you're going to go back to the same model that you did with The Force Awakens? No, you can't do that this time.
If the Emperor survived, then what's the point of Darth Vader? Because Anakin Skywalker is the chosen one. And that basically just destroys that whole idea of that because the Emperor never died unless he's a clone, which I don't think it's
No.
It's not going to be.
I think one thing
anybody's
is
getting
it could
cloned,
be
that's
like a
right.
4-stream or something, is what I'm thinking. The way it looked like a little bit in that last trailer that came out, it looked a little bit like it could be a 4-stream. It could be. I don't know.
We won't know until December when Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker comes out in the theaters.
I'm excited.
This has been Cinema Talk. It's been very Star Wars heavy, but we'll be back. My name is Ayinde.
Ian.
And Justin.
You guys have a great night.
All right. Thank you, Ayinde, Ian, and Justin, for letting us know your guys' opinions and thoughts on the new Star Wars movie coming up. Up next, we got one of our favorite segments, the Squawk Talk with Justin Rogers and Holden Andrews, where they're going to be discussing their favorite holidays and how Holden loves every single thing about Halloween. So let's hear what they have to say about it.
What's up, guys? It is Squawk Talk again here with Justin Rogers.
And Holden Andrews.
And here it's just two wacky guys talking about some wacky things. And we were thinking about doing a Halloween segment, but then Ayinde and Jalissa had to steal our thunder.
That's what I'm saying.
So right now, I think it is a great time to just talk about holidays in general. Talk about how overrated some might be, how underrated some might be, and how wholesome some of them might be. So Halloween's coming up. Let's just talk about Halloween.
Halloween is my favorite holiday. You heard our man Drake talk about it. I love every single thing. Every single thing. There's nothing better. And I don't know if you agree, Justin, but actually I know you don't agree. Scary movies are spectacular. My favorite right now, see, your favorite movie has to change constantly. Otherwise, how is it your favorite movie?
Right.
Got to be current. Right now, currently, Psycho, Alfred Hitchcock. Have you seen it?
I've seen parts of it. I
Parts
haven't
of it.
seen
I'll
the.
take
I'm
it.
not
I'll
a
take
huge
it.
horror movie guy.
Mhm.
To be honest with you, this is very controversial. I think Halloween's a little bit overrated. I think it's a holiday that people use, in my opinion, just to get candy. I'm not a huge fan of dressing up. I'm not a huge fan of parties. So this is a personal thing.
Yeah,
I think for other people, Halloween's a great holiday for other people. Not for me. I'm not the kind of person who likes that kind of stuff. I think it's overrated.
All right, let me throw one Halloween question at you.
Okay.
What was your best Halloween costume growing up?
All right, best Halloween costume growing up. So when I was little, I grew up dressed up as Darth Vader. That was my
Nice.
best one.
Nice.
That I dressed up as a cowboy as a kid too. Buzz Lightyear was my favorite though. Growing up.
Wow.
How about you? What best Halloween costume
Best
to date?
Halloween costume. I gotta say, I like you. I was a big Star Wars fan growing up, but I didn't want to be, Luke or Han or anybody that everybody else was. I was an X-wing pilot.
Okay, a little bit underrated, a little bit.
A little bit, but when you're walking out there with the helmet and the orange jumpsuit and everybody's like, "Whoa, you fly an X-wing?" and I say, "Yes, I do." Best Halloween moment. All right, let's do it. Let's get into what is your first holiday? Which one we breaking into first?
All right, so first holiday, I want to let's talk about Easter.
All right,
so we're near Christmas, but I want to kind of skip that a little bit.
Yeah, fast forwarding some
Let's
months.
talk about Easter. What is your favorite part of Easter? Just like hot takes. First kind of thing. What is your first reaction to Easter?
I'm ready. First Easter. All right, so every single year on Easter, I've grew up in the church.
Mm-hmm.
So my grandma would put on this big Easter egg hunt in her house. And
man.
The entire, because I'm from a really small town, so everybody came out, and my dad and my grandpa did burgers and dogs, and it was just a great time, and I got to go from hunting eggs myself to just having, I guess, what you could call a leadership role. I directed, kept kids out of the road and stuff like that. But that's a tradition now that my family always puts it on. And it's always so fun because you get the kids coming over playing baseball. And you get just everybody from the community. It's a great time.
Oh, man, I love that.
What about you?
So I grew up in the church as well for Easter. But every morning, my mom would get us Easter baskets. So every year we got, candy and we got in the eggs and everything. Got a movie every year.
Really?
Which that was really cool. That was towards maybe middle school that started for me, and then high school. That's actually what got me started on collecting actual DVDs for movies.
What was the best movie you got on Easter?
Oof, that's hard. pretty sure. I want to say that I want to say Hoodwinked was one movie I got. I also got Star Wars on one of the original ones. I forget which one. I want to say New Hope is one of them that I got. But
Best one.
fantastic. But right now, like, I think Easter, those kind of holidays for me are fantastic because I get to spend it with my family.
Yeah.
And like I got baptized on Good Friday.
Okay.
So and it just gives me a great opportunity to like see everybody again from my home church and everything.
Yeah.
And it also just like another excuse to get some candy though, you know?
Okay, so we like getting candy on Easter, but not Halloween. That doesn't make sense.
Okay. It's different to me. It's different a little
No,
bit.
I understand.
But to me, it's like, for Halloween, like, you're not begging for candy, but you kind of are. And, like, Easter, you're giving it. I love it when stuff is given and less about taking. That's a little bit with it, too. Might be a little bit controversial, but you never know. Let's give some thanks and start to go to Thanksgiving.
What a segue right there.
Whoa.
I think, hot take, I think Thanksgiving is underrated.
Okay.
Because most people view it as just a time to go eat somewhere, but it's more than that.
It's family time.
That's what I'm saying. And, you know, to connect things back to my family, we do Thanksgiving at my house every single year. It's been like that since I was born, and it's never been any other way. And, like, both sides of my family come, and it's just such a good time. And, you know, to bring it back to the food, mac and cheese, mashed potatoes,
Okay.
pumpkin pie.
Come on.
It goes on and on and on. But you know what's the best?
Come on.
The Thanksgiving rolls.
Oh man, it
See?
depends. It depends. Are they have to be made. They can't be store bought.
Oh,
I mean,
100%.
it depends unless they're potato rolls. That
Yeah.
I can give the excuse of buying rolls of their potato rolls
That's
because
true.
those are
Have
fantastic.
you ever had the King's Hawaiian rolls?
Oh bet.
Wow.
Oh bet those are so good.
Those are spectacular.
Oh man.
That's the best roll. And if you have a roll that you like more, just go away. Don't talk to me.
The best
like,
roll
King's
of
Hawaiian or
Thanksgiving.
nothing.
It's the best roll of Thanksgiving.
Best roll, period.
It really is
If we're
though.
being real.
I mean, I love Thanksgiving. The fact it brings, you know, the family together. I mean, some people they just feel like it's forcing them to give thanks. But honestly, it isn't. It's just a great time to be thankful for what you have,
Yeah.
and I mean, it gives a good perspective for what you should have for the entire year. But like, I love the food. The food is fantastic. But the fact that food brings people together is fantastic. I mean, there are some years where I had a grandfather who was in like a retirement home. So every Thanksgiving we went and we visited him and we spent time with him for a couple of hours. And that was really nice. I mean, as a kid, like you think, oh, why am I doing this when I could be like watching football? But just looking back, like those are some really good times. And the fact that it was on Thanksgiving, you know, like not like he passed away, and so looking back at those times, like man, like the fact that I was on Thanksgiving
And you
is
can have those
fantastic.
memories, yeah.
Exactly. But also, I love me some football on Thanksgiving. Like you fill yourself up all the way, and then you're just like tired, and like you got that food coma going on. But you know what's even more fantastic?
What?
When you wake up from the food coma and you're hungry,
And
you
you
can
get
eat all
more
over
food,
again.
The
Oh my
Thanksgiving
gosh.
leftovers. Yes. All right. So you mentioned you thought Halloween was overrated. Give me another overrated holiday.
Overrated holiday? Well, the only major holiday we have left to talk about is Christmas.
That's true.
Over commercialized. Also, well, okay, let's talk about this first. I'm not a fan of Black Friday.
Okay.
Not a fan of Black Friday. It ruins Thanksgiving, in my opinion. It ruins it. What is your take on Black Friday?
Black Friday, I mean, I could take it or leave it. I'm the type of guy, I absolutely hate shopping. Grocery shopping, clothes shopping. All right, there are two types of shopping I actually enjoy.
Give it to me.
Books and vinyl records, and that is it.
I can see you as a vinyl records guy.
That's me. I have one at home. I'm building my collection.
Nice.
But just to get back, Black Friday, I mean, the fact that I hate shopping means I never go. I have no reason to go.
So you've never participated in it, though?
Nope.
It's an experience that I only want to experience once in my life.
Oh, I've heard.
I am the exact opposite of you. I love grocery shopping. I love shopping for clothes. I love going to thrift stores. It's a fantastic pastime for me. But, like, Black Friday is just an extreme that I don't want to partake in. I don't want to hurt myself to buy stuff that like my family will maybe remember for a year.
Yeah.
And like it's material stuff. So like how much is that really worth to them
I
unless
agree,
they
I
use it a
agree.
lot? So like if it's something practical, yes, but also like Cyber Monday, why don't you just participate in that from home when you could not be trampled at a store?
That's true.
Like-
Yeah, you can't get trampled online.
What the heck? Yeah, you can't. Well, I mean, emotionally maybe.
Yeah.
Emotionally,
yeah.
you might be able to get trampled online, but still. So let's just go into Christmas.
All right, let's do it.
Let's go into Christmas. Again, I think the commercial aspect of it is fun, but overrated.
Yeah.
I think like the religious aspect, I love it. I mean, I loved it more as like as a kid. Like you just love Christmas. You
Yeah.
really want those presents. Like I've had times before where I wake up early in the morning, go downstairs, see what my presents are, come back upstairs.
Come back upstairs. Yeah.
Yes, and that whole my parents had this rule of what was it? Oh, you cannot wake us up before the sun comes up, kind of thing. Have you ever had that rule before? My brother especially. My brother would like stay up all night. He wouldn't get any sleep because he was so excited for Christmas. The one thing I love about Christmas, Easter, and Thanksgiving. I mean, they're holidays that are family oriented,
Right.
community oriented, and I love that. But I love the traditions I have in my family. So one tradition we have is Christmas Eve we all get pajamas and we watch a Christmas movie. So like having those and looking forward to those, I think that's just like a fantastic time. And then we have cinnamon rolls Christmas morning, and the entire family is usually together. And like now that we're all getting older, like everybody's out of the house.
Right.
Christmas is gonna be even more for my parents and everybody else because we're all away from one another except me from my brother who goes here. But that's beside the point. But yeah, so how about you? What do you think about Christmas?
Excuse me. I have two younger sisters. I have a twin sister that also goes here, and then I have a 9-year-old sister and a 3-year-old sister. So we still live by the you can't wake us up. I think our rule is technically, I don't think we open presents till 8, so I think it's you have to sleep until 8.
Yep.
But as they're getting older, it's so much fun to see them get excited and everything. And I think I agree. The food on Christmas morning, my mom always makes a sausage and egg casserole, and it is. I eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, like the rest of that week.
That is fantastic.
It's the best thing my mom cooks, and I don't know what I'd do without it.
Also, I will say Christmas Day, like after that initial like opening of the presents and stuff, it's one of the chillest days of the year.
Thinking that it is just it's so relaxing, and like I don't know if you're like me. I mean, I talked about movies basically this entire segment. Like I always get a movie, and you just pop that in, like open it up, pop it in.
Yeah.
It's so much
just
fun.
Like watching a movie.
So
Last year
much
I
fun.
just like chilled and watched Netflix
Yep.
like the rest of the day. There are like except for the morning where like, again you have breakfast, you have your traditions, you open the presents, you get in your stockings.
Yeah.
It's always fantastic. But then you just have the rest of the day to chill and there's no expectations for
Yeah.
the rest of the day.
You're so right. And another thing that's nice is like my dad's a PE teacher, so he gets the same break we do, and it's so nice just to hang out with him. And my mom, she's at work, but she gets a couple days off, so it's really like the only time where my family is like truly together.
Yeah, it's the same thing with my family. My mom's a teacher.
Yeah.
Oh, she is a preschool teacher, so
Okay.
she gets off that entire time, a little bit less than we do as
Right.
college students. But then also, like, my dad is a pastor, so he'll get a couple days off. He'll
Yeah.
get Christmas Day off. He'll get like a couple of other days off too, just to spend time with us. Also because again, we're all grown up.
Yeah.
We're all over the age of 18. We've all gone off to college, and like it's just good to all be back and spend time with one another unhindered. Because also, I just love Christmas break more as a college student than a high school student because there's nothing to
absolutely
come back to.
You're so right. You're so right. And I think that really we don't have work to do over Christmas break. So give us more time for fall break. Take just 2 days off of Christmas break, and that'll be fine. At least for me.
I don't know about that
At
one,
least
Chief.
for
I
me.
like my long Christmas break so I could have possibly more time to
More
write this
Christmas-
FILA paper. But like,
That's
which I'm
true.
not gonna write
That's
over Christmas
true.
break most likely. But
Sorry, Loliker.
oh jeez.
But
I think that's all the time we got here.
I just
want to
say one more thing
what
to
you
our
got? What you got?
listeners. Halloween's tomorrow. If you have a favorite scary movie that you want your favorite host, Holden Andrews, to watch, DM it to our BC Voice account on Instagram, and I will watch it, and I will get back to you.
Or you can go to your more favorite host and talk to me about what your favorite Christmas movie is, because it's not even Thanksgiving, so we're going to talk about Christmas. So just tell me your favorite Christmas movie. I'll even start watching it now. Or your favorite Christmas music. We didn't even get into that.
We didn't talk about Christmas music. How could we not?
But we're out of time right here. So this is Squawk Talk with Justin Rogers
And Holden Andrews.
All right, see you guys later.
Shout out to Holden and Justin walking us through that. But let's be honest, guys, Thanksgiving's a great time because who doesn't enjoy all that delicious food? Up next, we got BC Sports, where Brandon Wells and Jacob Haugh are going to talk to us and recap Bridgewater's in-season sports, as well as analyzing their play moving forward. So without any more introduction, let's take it away.
Welcome back, Bridgewater community. As always, my name is Brandon Wells.
And I'm Jacob Haugh.
And we're going to go over as the fall seasons are closing up now, we're going to go over the in-season Bridgewater College sports teams. And as always, first on our list is an interesting one. Men's soccer finished the regular season yesterday. Their total record 5-11-1, 3-5 in the ODAC. They just lost their last regular season match of the year yesterday to Virginia Wesleyan 3-0. Actually commentated that game. Very boring game to watch. But this is where it's interesting. You're 5-11-1, but you make the postseason tournament. They're number 9 in the ODAC, and they're to face off against Randolph College, who's the number 8 seed, who is 9-7-1. They are 4-4 in the ODAC, and that's going to go down this Friday.
First thoughts. If you're men's soccer, this is a chance to restart your season. So if the reset button's pressed full on here, your record in the regular season doesn't matter anymore. Focus on this game. 9-7-1 compared to 5-11-1. Like, what team would you pick? Obviously the 9-7-1 team, but Bridgewater's 3-5 in the ODAC. Randolph's 4-4 in the ODAC. So it's really a toss-up for me, but I hate to say this, but I think Randolph walks out with the win against the Eagles. But the Eagles have an opportunity to restart their season and show people who they really are, if they didn't already do that this year.
Something I find really interesting about this men's soccer team is we've stated a couple of times in our past broadcasts, going into the season, they were one of the higher-ranked teams of the year. They had a really disappointing season this far, but this team, I'd say probably about 40% of their roster are seniors, graduating seniors, so that team is young. Moving forward, they might be very good, but next year is probably going to be a lot the same if you analyze exactly how many seniors you're graduating, how many of those get a lot of play time, which is most of them. But their goalkeeper, Mark Collins, he's a freshman.
Yep.
And it's always good when your goalkeeper is starting as a freshman because he has 3 more years at that position to just improve off of a lackluster season, which you still make the postseason.
Yeah. And this gives him time to play in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Teach the other young players coming in what's really going on when it comes to the playoffs.
Talk about a comeback story here. Women's soccer, after a very slow start to the season, looked all doom and gloom. Ended the regular season at 10-6-2, 6-3, actually a winning record in conference in the ODAC. They just lost their last regular season match this Tuesday, also against Virginia Wesleyan. They lost that 1-0. They are number 5 in the ODAC postseason tournament coming up this week, and they are set to face off against the number 1 seed, Washington and Lee, who is undefeated on the year, 15-0 and 2 ties.
Well, if I'm the Eagles, I look to my stars, and that's Haugh and Sydney Ryan, and I say to you, we're gonna need a big game. Your goalkeeper back there, Sydney Davis, is solid. You got a great team to build off of, but now you're playing a quality team, and it's time to show up. This team hasn't lost a game, so you got to look through film and figure out what have the teams that have already played them, including yourself, not done correctly to pull out a win. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's what is that one factor that nobody else has found?
Women's soccer certainly has the playmakers there. They just have to get it all come together. They need the perfect alignment right here if they're going to pull out a win, but they're going to be in for their work, and hopefully that this women's soccer team can get the win of the decade here at Bridgewater Women's Soccer.
Yep.
Another sport up that way at the beginning of the year, we were already calling national champions. They are still looking pretty good this season, but not as good as they were volleyball. Overall record 21-5. They are 8-3 in the ODAC, so more than half of their losses have been conference games, which that hurts. They are currently playing a game right now, just right up in Harrisonburg against Mount. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. Mount Ulysses. Okay. They have a game tomorrow against Emory and Henry. But we all like to go over the player of the weeks right here. And Rachel Gaston, the libero. Gaston. The libero, 26 kills in their last weekend matchup and 28 digs. Those are impressive stats right there.
I mean, you look at Gaston. I can't remember her last name, but it's just. I think they have such a very solid group, and you look back at their matchup with Randolph-Macon, and I was in attendance, and you know when that gym gets full, how noisy it is in there. And you saw a crack in Randolph-Macon. It was 1-1. The Eagles had come back. They were winning about 21-16, and they gave up probably 6 or 7 straight points and lost the set 25-22. I think that was probably the most crucial point in their season. And they've got to look forward. You can't look backward and just wait to the playoffs. Really, you just got to wait to the playoffs and move forward. And you can't call them national champions. You can't say that they're going to get there because, like you said, there's 3 losses in the ODAC. And that's huge. Any loss in the conference is huge. Nonetheless, 3. But you got a chance against Emory and Henry. So
this volleyball team, they compete every single year, and they still have a really good record, and they have talent. My oh my, does this Bridgewater volleyball team have talent and height advantage on the front line. They're going to be dangerous in the home stretch moving forward going into the postseason. Our next sport to talk about, probably undoubtedly the most lackluster sport here at campus. Hopefully that they can pull together the last couple wins here as we head into the end of the season. But field hockey, 4-12 on the season, 2-4 in the ODAC, and I think they just beat EMU 4-1, which, I mean, 4-1, that's a pretty good margin. So good job to field hockey for winning today. So that will increase them to 5-12 on the season. Their last game of the season is this Saturday against Washington and Lee.
Not much to be said here. I've commentated one of their games. They look like a solid group. You just got to give them time. Just give them time. They'll be okay.
Again, another really young team coming in here. It could be very good in the home stretch in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Next, we have a team that is entering season. Well, they've been in season, but it's a new one we haven't talked about much on the show, and that's swim. The swim teams. And there's 2 different stories here. Men's swim, they're kind of struggling. They were 7th out of 10 at the ODAC relays to start the year, which isn't great, and they've lost all of their other meets this year so far. Women's swim team, however, on the other hand, they were 5th out of 11th at the ODAC relays at the beginning of the year, and they have 2 wins and 2 losses. So they split their meets thus far.
Yes. And like I said, with almost half of these sports, gotta look forward. Gotta look at what's coming next. You can't look at the past. 2 wins, 2 losses. 5th out of 11 in the ODAC relays. You're right in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Like you gotta communicate it to your group that you're right on the cusp of being great.
Absolutely.
And there's a difference in the teams that get 4th through 1st or 3rd through 1st, and there's just you can feel it.
And unlike all the other teams we're talking about here, the swim team, their season is young.
Yep.
They have a long way to go right now. Golf. Next up, we like to hang out with golf a little bit. They had a really good September. Their October, not so much. They've only finished in the top half of their tournaments, I think, twice this month, which is it's not really something to expect from Bridgewater Golf because they're usually really good. They always get the ODAC Player of the Week award almost every single time. They had a great September. Their October not looking quite as sturdy.
Like you said, golf expectations were high, so they're college students. You gotta remember, these people are still young. There's still time to grow, and there's still mistakes to be made. So the way you look at golf moving forward is how do we improve and how do we stay the same? How do we keep our expectations high even though we're not delivering right now? And I know you normally do the intros, but I am so hyped up about this football team. I got to commentate their homecoming game. We've gotten to commentate several of their games. They're 7-0. 0 losses. 5-0 in the ODAC. They just beat Washington and Lee 31-14, which is handily for the ODAC. And then their next game is at Emory and Henry, and boy, is that going to be a slobber knocker. And the problem is, people are counting this team out. They're looking at Macon. You can't. Emory and Henry is a ridiculous bunch of guys that they have star potential. I was talking to Mekhi Whitaker, who is a lineman for the Bridgewater Eagles team, and they are just ridiculous, from what I understand. And no opponent's going to be easy from here on out.
as you said, we've commentated a couple of games. I've gotten the pleasure of working really closely with this football team throughout this amazing season. They are ranked nationally for the first time this decade. They are number 25 right now nationally. That is a great accomplishment right there alone. I am going up to the Emory Henry game this weekend, so please be sure to tune in to that broadcast. But as you were saying, looking forward to Randolph-Macon. Everyone's been saying this and that, but I've had a couple interviews now with Coach Clark, and he does a really good job of staying focused on next week. That's all that matters is next week. One step at a time. Go through the process. We got to focus on Emory and Henry this week, and that's exactly what they're going to do. The W&L game, they were ready for their game. I saw a couple mid-game adjustments because they weren't doing a couple things right. They were kind of back and forth a little bit, and then once they found out what they were going to do, the strategy took off, and it was all Bridgewater from there, and that was the first time this season I've shown that they've had to make that mid-game adjustment to get them the edge they need, and boy, did they do it. Matt Dane, his blocked punt for safety last week to get Bridgewater the first scores of the half. It was only 2 points, but that's a game changer.
Yeah.
And after that, Washington really couldn't do anything on offense.
Bottom line, let me just say something real quick at the end here, and let's go Eagles. I mean, this fall, these teams, none of them have extremely underperformed. And some of them have blew our expectations, and some of them have come down low. But just congratulations to these fall sports teams, and thank you all for tuning in to BC Sports. I'm Jacob Haugh.
And I'm Brandon Wells.
You guys have a great evening.
Thank you, Brandon and Jacob, for giving us the rundown on how BC Sports are doing this fall. And again, like Jacob said, go Eagles. Huge shout out to the girls field hockey team winning tonight, as well as we look at football going into Emory and Henry this week. Up next, we have Dean Barker and Justin Rogers to cap us off for the night with our national sports, discussing all the drama in the World Series, as well as the beginning of the NBA season and where the NCAA football playoff race is going.
What's up, guys? This is Justin Rogers.
I'm Dean Barker.
And we are going to talk about some national sports here. So let's start off here. We're going to talk about a little NCAA football. Let's give a recap of what happened this weekend.
All right, so Kansas State shocked Oklahoma 48-41. So that moved Oklahoma down in the rankings, and where are they right now? They are at number 9.
They were number 4 or 5.
Or they're down to number, yeah.
Yeah, so that is huge for this Oklahoma team. They have to be out of the college football playoff race. I mean, you were looking so good, and then you come in against this Kansas State team who lost to Baylor and lost to Oklahoma State. Baylor is ranked, I will give it to them, but both of those games they lost by 10 plus points. So I was just shocked to see that they not only kept up with this Oklahoma team, but it showed that as always, Oklahoma's offense is always good, but their defense lackluster every year.
Yeah, I mean, it was a home game for Kansas State, so it's not as surprising.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Kansas State, although they're not national title contenders, is not a bad team necessarily.
You are right.
They're ranked 22. So I think if Oklahoma wins out from here and is strong, if they get some help from some other teams, they might be able to sneak in. Probably not. They're probably looking at a Rose Bowl, Sugar Bowl, something like that.
Yeah, I can see it.
But in the Associated AP poll, big news: LSU moved to number 1 over Alabama after holding off Auburn at 23-20.
Mm-hmm.
So
that was at LSU, and I think a lot of people were expecting that to be a good game, and it was. LSU. That second half, they turned on the Jets. Their offense did what we expected their offense to do. Their defense did what we expected them to do. And right now, the fact that they're number 1, there's only one reason why they're number 1. It's because they've been playing more ranked opponents than Alabama has. Alabama's only played, I believe, 1 or 2 ranked opponents this year. And I think the next ranked opponent for LSU is Alabama. And honestly, I think both of these teams, regardless of what this game looks like between Alabama and LSU, that's going to be a close game. If it's a close game, both of them will make the playoff. I think they will.
Yeah, I think Alabama, despite moving behind in that poll, they've got a bye week coming up. I don't think they have anything to be concerned about.
No.
Because they're always going to be in that top 1 or 2 spots.
Yeah.
In the other teams, it's looking like it's going to be a tight race for that 4th spot.
Yeah.
Because we got Clemson, after winning the national championship last year, they're in 4th in the AP poll, and in the USA Today poll, they're number 3.
Yeah.
So I haven't watched them a lot. Have you seen them?
So Clemson is a very interesting team. They're usually a very consistent team. Trevor Lawrence has been playing like Trevor Lawrence this year. I mean, they had the one scare against North Carolina, but I think that's the reason why they're number 3. I think also they haven't been playing that many ranked teams, but when they have, they've played well. So I think unless they have one crazy game where they lose a close game or they barely win a game, I think they're a shoo-in for this. I mean, honestly, everybody's going to be watching the LSU-Alabama game. I mean, I hate to bring it back to that, but for some teams like Oklahoma, you're wondering, like, you want one team to blow out another because then that gives you an opportunity to move up in those standings and possibly get it. But like every year, that 4th team getting into the playoff, it's very hard to predict, and it's hard to know right now because we still got some season left.
Yeah, I mean, let's see it. For teams that made it, Notre Dame is nowhere to be found in that discussion. They're 16, 5-2, not going to happen.
Yeah.
Because we haven't had a 2-loss team in there. Last year was the closest we ever had.
Yeah.
And honestly, I thought they got it right last year. It was a hard no on Georgia, but so let's see. The other 2 teams is looking like Florida, Penn State, and Ohio State are looking for that last spot.
It's going to be hard between Ohio State and Clemson. Ohio State just looks so good on Saturday. They steamrolled. It looks hard for them to lose right now. I think there's going to be 3 undefeated teams, possibly 2 or 3 undefeated teams going into the playoff.
Yeah.
Again, it all depends on that LSU-Alabama game, and there's so much hype around this game. We'll see what it looks like at the end of the season. But let's move on to what nobody really talks about. We're going to talk about FCS a little bit. Talk about our hometown boys, JMU, number 2, all throughout this year.
Yeah, so JMU had they had a pretty good win against number 22 Towson, so they've maintained that number 2 spot. But the main thing in FCS that everyone was talking about is North Dakota State narrowly held on to that winning streak that's lasted. This is a third year.
Like 2 or 3 seasons, yeah.
Yeah, so they were playing at South Dakota State, and it was the 4th down, and they had a 71-yard touchdown on 4th and inches.
Oh, man.
Ended up being the game winner, 23-16. That's why they've won 8 of the last 9 national championships. That's why.
Yeah.
But the only team that's beat them is JMU.
Yep.
And JMU's played everybody tough. Their only loss was to West Virginia. I think it was a 1-score game.
Yeah, well, turnovers hurt them. Only way JMU is going to lose is because of turnovers. And we saw they could have beat West Virginia if they didn't turn the ball over so much. Yeah. Honestly, it's just like LSU, Alabama, and the FBS. This season is going to come down at some point. Honestly, because they're 1-2, if they stay 1-2, I will not be surprised if it's a JMU North Dakota State game again, because that's what it seems like every year, except last year JMU had an off year.
JMU had that one loss, I think it was to New Hampshire, and that killed their chances.
Yeah, they had the off year, but this year I would not be surprised if it's the North Dakota State and JMU championship for the FCS.
Yeah, so that'd be interesting. Moving on to NBA. We were 4 games into the start of the season. What is it? So far, the 76ers are in first in the East, and the Spurs are out in front in the West, tied with the Timberwolves.
Mm-hmm.
Surprisingly, the Raptors are 3-1. They're doing okay without Kawhi.
Yeah.
It's been interesting.
I think with the NBA, I mean, it's like this with any sports, national sports team, it is hard to see how a team is doing from the beginning of this season. I mean, right now, I think what we've all expected, the 2 LA teams are going to be some of the best teams in the NBA right now. We saw that first game of the year. We saw the Lakers got a big lead, but then Kawhi just took over. The fact that Clippers team won the game, they won without Paul George, so it's very interesting to see how they do, but it's also very interesting to see how free agency over the summer is going to continue to affect. I mean, we see how it affected with Kawhi, and then Anthony Davis coming over to the Lakers, and then with the Raptors doing well. I mean, it's just very interesting to see. Are there going to be in the East, are there going to be just 2 good teams and then the rest of the teams like aren't as good and they're just fighting for spots? Or is the West, I mean, obviously it's the exact opposite. There's probably 6 teams that deserve to be there and then 2 that are just fighting for spots. So it'll be interesting to see if it's been like other seasons.
Yeah, it's interesting because the thing is with the NBA, you just need one superstar and you can compete.
Yeah, that
Not
all
one, but
depends.
if you get like a superstar.
We saw that with Warriors and Raptors last year, though. They had bench and it was deep.
Yeah, you need you need at least one superstar, but you need like a bench behind you. Like one guy's not gonna carry, unless that's LeBron in Cleveland a few years ago. One guy can only do so much.
Yeah.
So
now let's talk about a game going on right now. Game 7 of the World Series. The Houston Astros at home against the Washington Nationals. This series, game-wise, has been a good series going to Game 7, but game by game, not as impressive. Every game the team has won, it's a blowout. Also, first time in history that through Game 6, I think is what you were telling me, that all the home teams have lost.
yeah, and that's not just for the NBA. That's for the major 3 sports that have championship series. It's the first time ever that the home team has lost the first 6 games. If the Nationals win, it'll be the first time ever that its home team has not won the game.
And I know you're a huge baseball fan. What do you think that's attributed to? As far as home teams, there's no more. I mean, at least in this series, home field advantage doesn't matter as much. What do you think that's attributed to in baseball?
Well, I think baseball is the one sport where the best team doesn't always win. Because if it depends on who you're throwing that day, it depends on what the weather's like. Well, I mean, for the Astros, it doesn't really matter because they got the roof.
Yeah.
But there's a host of different things that go into it. The Nationals, ever since May, they've been on fire, but the Astros have seemed to, in the last few games, they caught the Nats just at the right time.
Yeah.
Because we're seeing, is this just a fad for the Nationals, or
Yes.
is it good, or are they really going to be competitive for the rest of the year? Because I mean, yeah, but the Nationals last night, they had a huge win.
Oh yeah, they did.
Probably the biggest win in franchise history.
Though a controversial call with Trey Turner, I mean, looking at that call, I was mad. Mostly because that ball wasn't even catchable. First of all, second of all, he was on the base path. But then it just shows how good this Nats team really is when you have something like that. I mean, Dave Martin, he got pissed. He was pissed.
He was very upset. I mean, that's I remember it was the first week that he was the Nationals manager. He went out there and stood up for Anthony Rendon after he was arguably not ejected for the right reason. Martinez went out there and got ejected too. Some people don't like some of the decisions he's made. I've disagreed with him time to time, but this is a guy, even if you don't agree with him, he has the best hopes of the Nationals in mind.
And he cares about this team, but also the fact that came back from that and Rendon hits a home run. Rendon is the most impressive player in this team, and if I'm the Nats, I'm doing whatever it takes to bring him back.
I do not.
You cannot let him go.
I offer
to
him
free.
more than they offered Harper.
Oh, you have to right now. I mean, okay. So here's the thing, though.
Well,
you have so many younger
Strasburg
guys.
You need to bring back too.
You have to bring him back. He won them that game.
Yes.
8 innings, 8 1/3 innings, and you pitch that well. The fact that you can come back from a first inning of letting 2 runs and then just pitch as well as you did.
Yeah, because that's not only hard, like to come back and that's morally hard, because after losing the last 3 games, they're thinking, oh, is this just going to happen again?
Right.
So the Nationals have been extremely resilient ever since their 1931 start. Their hashtag has been stay in the fight.
Yeah.
So they got 1 game left to see if they can win that fight.
Yeah. And here's the thing, though. I really want this to be a good Game 7.
I want it to be a Nationals blowout.
Yeah, and I think that's with most fans of both franchises. But right now, I think this is going to be a pitcher's duel. I think it could be between it's Scherzer and it's who's the other?
Zach Greinke.
It's Greinke. And I think both of these teams have great pitchers. But here's the thing with the Nats. The Nats have to have Scherzer go at least 7.
Yes.
If they don't have him go 7,
Absolutely.
then they can bring Doolittle in after that, and he can pitch an inning or 2. And what we saw in the 3 games they lost, their pitchers only lasted a couple of innings, lasted maybe 5 or 6 innings, and then they have to rely on the relievers, which isn't their strength. That's something they have to work on in the offseason. But it would just be interesting to see how this game goes tonight.
Yeah, the key tonight is going to be that the Nationals outfield and their infield needs to back up their pitcher. Because you can't because if you make 1 or 2 errors, that could be the game with such a strong team like the Astros. Every mistake is going to hurt you tonight. So I think if they can back up their pitcher and dive for those balls and make those plays, you can get more out of Scherzer. And if the bats are doing well for the Nationals tonight, I think it's going to be party in D.C.
We'll see. I think the first 6 or 7 innings are going to determine this game. All right, one question for you. Do either of these teams right now, if they maybe lose a player or two, do they still have a chance? Are they one of the top 3 teams in their conference, in either their conferences? Do they have a chance of coming back to the World Series next year?
I think it depends because the Nationals not just have to bring back Rendon, they also have to bring back Strasburg.
Yep.
So it's going to be interesting to see how they split the money there. I think the Astros have been great for the last 3 years, so I don't think they should have anything to be worried about.
Oh, yeah.
So, but it's just going to be able to see. We're going to have to see, is this a fluke from the Nationals or are they here for real?
Definitely. Well, guys, we just want to thank you for listening to us, and thank you just for listening to the broadcast tonight. I'm Justin Rogers.
I'm Dean Barker. One last update. It's 0-0 in the top of the second with 2 outs.
Awesome. So we're going to get it to my boy Drake to end this broadcast.
All right. Thank you, Dean and Justin, for that breakdown of what's going on in the college football world as well as the NBA season and even what's going on tonight with the final game of the World Series. In my opinion, go Astros. But before we cap off and sign off, I just want to say go ahead and make an impact in somebody's day, man. You guys have sat here and listened to us for the past hour and a half, and we thank you for tuning in this week. And we will have our next broadcast November 13th, so make sure 7 o'clock we will be here waiting for you guys. And as always, make an impact in somebody's day. It's your boy Drake signing off tonight. Thank you again, and have a wonderful rest of your week.